The vestibule is simple and a surprising contrast to the great two-storied entrance rotunda. Open-mouthed audiences were greeted by the illuminated fountain of a Moorish haven, supported by marble pillars and goldfish swimming in a foyer pool. The black and red-tiled floor with central fountain was surrounded by 8 massive octagonal columns, with Moorish bracketed caps in vermilion and gold. These supported the floor of the restaurant balcony. The rotunda fountain court was covered by a large Byzantine cupola. This was finely decorated and secretly lighted. Between the columns were the balconettes of the tea lounge. The grand foyer was treated in the atmospheric manner, giving the impression of a quiet Spanish courtyard with fountains splashing. Throughout, there was a fantastic mix of all the most exotic historical styles. The mirrors came from the Baroque, the wall friezes from Bengal. In the auditorium, there was more to it than mere historical recreation. Hanging above the brick Romanesque proscenium were tropical villages disappearing to hills on the horizon. The Astoria at Finsbury Park featured a Moorish walled city. Great plaster lions peered menacingly down from the sides of the red brick proscenium arch. The sides of the arch were the main gateposts to a gold and silver velvet curtained opening through which patrons were drawn into the city of motion pictures. The walls surrounding the other parts of the auditorium were in a checkerboard pattern of red and yellow ochre. The luxurious hall was dominated by architect Edward Stone's Spanish village landscape, with mock buildings in Moorish style and an 18,000 feet square curved ceiling with twinkling stars simulating the night sky. 2 stone towers flanked the proscenium arch, and these joined together above the proscenium, the upper story of a building complete with green-shuttered windows and practical doors which led to a railed balcony. Both towers and bridge were practical and could be used for special effects. To the right and left of the proscenium arch there straggled away, in uneven line, the roofs of old-fashioned houses. Fascinating little stone stairs led to the mysterious unknown behind the scenes, and miniature courtyards trailing flowering plants and sun-kissed trees all helped create the illusion of a Spanish village with mountains in the distance. A further effect, designed to give an open-air atmosphere to the auditorium, was the beautifully soft blue ceiling, with its twinkling stars and cloud formations giving the illusion of a night sky. The ceiling was beautifully arched and gave a naturalness to the whole design. Made of blue non-resonant cement, the ceiling was claimed to have the biggest roof span in the world and represented the Mediterranean sky, cleverly arranged so that it seemed to dip to a distant but unseen horizon. Stars twinkled, or the sun shone, according to the will of the chief electrician. When the safety curtain, painted as a Moorish Spanish water garden set in an avenue of trees, was lowered, the illusion the designer had so successfully pursued was complete. That of an open-air Spanish garden. The organ had been made by John Compton and had 2 consoles, one in the orchestra pit and the other, which was mobile, on the stage. The organ chamber was above the proscenium arch, hidden by one of the shuttered windows which formed part of the decorative scheme. On stage, facilities had been provided for the introduction of a magnoscope screen, a widescreen system that was still being developed. The stage was fully equipped for the presentation of spectacular vaudeville, ballet, or operatic productions. After the show, the starry-eyed audience, having experienced the splendours of the proscenium arch and the deep evening blue atmospheric sky, returned to the cooling effects of the fountain court. It was indeed splendour in Finsbury Park. Apart from the Granada tooting, there was no more striking cinema interior in Britain than this, with its Moorish city crowding around the proscenium arch, guarded by towers and gilded lions. With the Finsbury Park Astoria, atmospherics had arrived in England with a flair never to be repeated. The 58-year-old auditorium, once one of the grandest in the country, now stands shabby and peeling. It had been one of the finest examples of the Art Deco cinema style. The opening night in 1930 was a lavish affair, with 200 artists appearing on stage and Ronald Colman starring in the main feature film, Condemned. Astoria regulars enjoyed a visit to the cinema for as little as £1. They were looked after by the cinema's 100 staff, including uniformed boys to open doors and salute. During its golden years, the Astoria's stage hosted great showbiz names, including the Beatles, who filled the theatre with screaming fans for 2 weeks at Christmas 1963. The cinema, which seated 3,018, opened on September the 29th, 1930, and became the Odeon on November the 8th, 1970. But film audiences began to dwindle as the screen industry declined, and the Odeon Astoria closed on September the 18th, 1971. 2 months later, it reopened as the Rainbow, staging concerts by The Who, David Bowie, and Genesis. However, the cost of maintaining the 50-year-old building proved too high, and on December the 24th, 1981, the Rainbow shut for good. In 1988, New Living Ministries, part of the Elim Pentecostal Church, paid the Rank organisation £300,000 for a 40-year lease on the building, and they have the enormous task of raising £3 million to restore the building to something like its former glory. The Astorias recall a period when no expense was too great, no idea too bold, no scheme too extravagant in the construction of buildings for films. They represented the only full-scale attempt to build a kind of atmospheric, here called landscape, cinemas in Britain that had been widely constructed in the United States.